I know this may seem like a little bit of a begging letter, and every content creator does this, but it'd be really wicked if you could subscribe down below, smash that bell. Sports science, not bro science. Hi, I'm Adam McCarthy, and I run a couple of YouTube channels. Well, when I first started Immersive Sports Science, I was heavily influenced by the late UK Sport magazine, which was a free magazine. The high-length covers of the photographs that covered the page, minimal but modernist texts, and you could probably see this from my old thumbnails. And ironically, I've actually gone back to this style of thumbnail. I'm going to try and show something really cool. So in here, it's a copy of almost every sport magazine that was ever released. Yep, I know, I am super sad. I've managed to keep a free magazines all these years. Second influence for me was BBC's Horizon programme, and now they went into in-depth information and did it simply to a, almost like a journalistic basic audience. And I like how each episode's format is different. And of course, one can't mention the biggest social media influence on sports science, and that is the ESPN Sports Science program, which was fun if not scientifically that accurate. Well, when I first started Immersive Sports Science, it was in partly way not a vanity project. Lots of people from the sports science community, and I was trying to get there, engage their opinions and what to do, because I wanted to demonstrate my ability as a in sports science, because my grades were all over the place and I wanted to have that backup to say here I am. But also at the same time I wanted to find a way of making money, and I was very clear from that from the very beginning that this would be a side hustle, engaging from the opinions of people within the sports science community that they did not like the idea of on social media. Very skeptical, I find. They were surprised that you could earn money from it, for instance, but they were very skeptical. In their eyes, YouTube was full of rants and social commentary devoid of fact and any scientific rigor. So I wanted to demonstrate and show that a YouTube channel that could have fitness and sports science on there without necessarily having these rants or do it in a ranting way in social commentary. So I try and steer clear from that as well as possible, which is probably going to affect my channel, but those are my guiding principle. No lies, no fake news, no bro science, and content that's relevant and up to date. But it depends what you consider relevant and up to date. What people seem to be searching online on YouTube is just so on the antithesis of what science is actually looking at regarding fitness. Is almost a severe disconnect, I find. So take it 2018, the two most searched terms were fat acceptance and mind-muscle connection. Now if we look at the vast majority of research, especially on Google's search, those didn't even appear in the top two in terms of research being published. Bearing in mind, research published is often looked from a year or 2 years prior. There were often other subjects regarding, for instance, talking about a lot of mental health, and that was very much in the mainstream, but not necessarily the specifics of it, with the exception of well-being, not really well searched and not niche enough to be searched on somewhere like YouTube. When I first started my channel, it felt like everything was changing. Everything, I needed to adapt all the time. And now it's, on reflection, in reality there was no monumental shifts. There was no adaptations or changes of any major sense in my channel in the last nearly 2 years. As of this video, I'm 100 videos in. So what have I learned? Have I been successful? No, because I haven't reached that target of 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours in order to make money online. But yes, At the same time, I have been successful because I found ways of making money other ways. I have found quite a lot of negativity from the start of the journey. It kind of took by surprise. People were generally saying, we want the information, we want the knowledge, but we want to be able to, not to skimp on that knowledge, but be able to make it easy and fun to understand. Well, what John's saying, it was almost like he wanted something devoid of fact. I don't think that's what he meant. I think the advice he was giving was the fact that you put all this information in and it's just not necessary for him. Getting threats and attacks from people before their messages completely disappearing, especially from the two communities in particular. And at the time I refer to them as the anti-health communities, and now I know very much differently that they're not that. The fact acceptance community, or that element of body positivity, the extreme side of it just don't want a discussion with anyone, the extreme left. And I've also had a bit from the extreme right as well, in terms of gender traditionalists and their role, or what they believe sports and fitness, how it should be genderlised, and how people's role in society is fixed because it's needed for a reason. I don't fully understand their argument that well enough yet. I still need more information, but all it's done is promoted me to make more content about them, especially if this content is getting views. The whole idea of mute, block, delete, repeat, great, but in what context? And I'm trying to look at everything in their separate contexts.
Unfollow people who make you feel bad about the way that you look, or the lifestyle that you live, or the relationship that you have, if someone is triggering you in any way. Mute, block, delete, repeat.
I want to be a little bit more careful about what I make. And especially if I'm going to move into into the more the philosophies behind practiced thinking. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to get butthurt, not intentionally, or misconstrue and not look at it with nuance, and not willing to have that debate, because the social warriors of the world, and this is come from a guy who's centre left, but it's how do I tread carefully in order to make the content that is not biased. And yes, there's always going to be editorial bias, I fully understand that. The one reason why people watch YouTube videos in the UK, for instance, is that it offers a biased view and opinion of the world, which you don't get in UK media, where it has to be impartial. It's the amateur side that is so people love, and that's what they love about YouTube. How can I meet that independent needs whilst trying to keep impartial? And not everyone's going to think the same. And I realise in talking about the extreme sides of the fitness industry and community, you're going to get potentially a lot of backlash. And I'm fully prepared and waiting for it, if I'm honest. It has come into a slight problem in that respect, is that I'm questioning the filter bubbles, the echo chambers we find ourselves in. And that doesn't always go down too well. It's knowing when you're safe, when you're not safe, especially online, regarding this. And I don't want to end up in the position where I'm willing to debate anyone, because if you do that, you end up like Jeremy Corbyn, and you look like a hypocrite when you don't debate anyone. It's difficult. It is difficult. You need to focus on who to debate and when to debate and what time to debate, and only debate the information when you know you are, or confront someone when you know you are factually accurate to the 100%, to the dot of the T, to the dot of the I. It's not always favourable as well, and there's a lot of people scared by it. And it leads into the argument of whether we are stifling freedom of speech. Yes, bullying's a bad thing, and we should protect people from bullying. You don't have to listen to the bullies, block them out of society. But when you're trying to do block, delete, repeat, and you try and do it in real world, you just look like Donald Trump. I'm sorry, you do.
Sorry, I just
The
wanted
young
to,
lady in the back, please.
I just wanted to let my colleague finish.
Okay.
But can I ask you a
Ladies
question,
and gentlemen,
please?
thank you very much. Appreciate
But
it.
you called
Thank you
us.
very much.
But we are seeing this online. We're seeing it in the fitness community where people just don't want to listen to one another. And it's hard to have these debates when one side is just shutting shop all the time. Or attacking you, then shutting shop all the time. But likewise, I'm trying to change what I possibly think of being attacked is online. Just because someone says something doesn't mean they're attacking them. It's nuanced information, it's critique, and a lot of people can't get the understanding of nuance and critique. And this is one of the reasons why my YouTube channel exists. It's to help people who are in need. I am a service that helps people. When it comes to, it's a lot of self-reflection. You need to self-reflect when you're in this role. And I am self-reflecting, and I feel like I'm critically reflecting all the time, especially regarding this. I'm learning stuff, and it's trying to judge the information I make. Is it relevant? Is it factual? Is it? And even in my own content with Scott McLaren, and this is why my content is a safe space for argument and debate, because if Scott McLaren didn't come out and stated his thing, what I wrote from evidence based upon government guidelines, then it wouldn't have thrown something into context. It wouldn't have highlighted something that I just completely never thought of. And now I'm starting to back away from that generalized information and probably stick more to the specific, trying to avoid information that is of that ilk. It's interesting when you need someone who you can trust to look at your site, because you're just so heavily engrossed in it that you don't realise the mistakes. I didn't realise the spelling mistakes. Okay, my dyslexia probably kicked in, but I'm not using that as an excuse.
Immersive sports science, immersive sports science. So good you've said it twice.
I didn't realise the mistakes I was making. I didn't realise, and I still don't know how to make those titles appealing to YouTube. And then it goes back to, if I were to do that, do I make this social commentary? And by making it social commentary, I lose that audience I'm aiming for, because they're not interested in social commentary. They're not interested in the rants. The titles to them give it away. They still think of YouTube as this big vanity project.
What exactly it is that you do, what it is the end goal, what you're aimed to achieve with the channel. What's the title of your content? It could be as simple as what we do at Immersive Sports Science. Intro to isn't a great name. So an evening with Eddie Hall. Again, if there's some learnings from that, like an evening with Eddie Hall could be anything. You could be out for a drink, you could be out to dinner. Who are you calling fat? Again, it doesn't speak anything to me. Is DK Metcalf really 1.6 body fat? Now, there's a really decent title. I would probably have How to Cheat at Cricket. That again, there's no hook in there for me on that. Future Stars, episode 6, Leah Barrow. I have no reason to look at that unless I want to look at a pretty girl.
We all like to think ourselves as not being misinformed, and it was interesting to see Every Damn Day Roberts' post and how that went before his site went down and through illegal means. Yeah, it was interesting to see that how everyone on his side was saying the other side were misinformed, and it got me thinking, especially reading the BBC articles on misinformation. What classifies as misinformation? And when we perceive ourselves as being the ones who are not misinformed, we could be at the most vulnerable to being misinformed. And you see that written a lot in modern Marxist literature. This understanding that every policy and perspective we have is in fact an ideology. The fact that you feel like you have no ideology is in fact an ideology. And it got me thinking, but how can I generate the we in the community? Because I was using we when I first started. I kept saying we by accident, as in the community, but how can I develop and build this community and make people feel a part of it, or want to be a part of this community? everyone, I recommend, needs that second opinion. You need someone who can sit there and go, or in my case, I paid Dave to do it, but who would happily look at your stuff and really, actually, this needs changing, that needs changing, your thumbnails need changing, and you need to be able to do the analysis yourself through analytics. And I think possibly where I was going wrong, I was using too much analytics. A new channel or small channels, analytics can vary greatly because of the lack of results. And yeah, I feel like I'm maybe analysing the wrong thing. I used to like the Little Monsters media sheet, and it told me the dark thumbnails do better. Maybe so, but it could just be an outlier that my better content is just the ones with the darker thumbnails. At times you feel like you're putting all this hard work, effort, staying up late nights to get this done, and nothing is getting done, or you don't get the results you were planned for, and you think to yourself, why? Why am I putting all this effort in? Yes, I know I'm putting this effort in because this is my future, and I need that secondary hustle on the side to help support me in what I do. For instance, we're about to go into a recession, so you need that backup in case it all goes tits up. Those clickbait titles and see that, the YouTube face. I'm trying to avoid that because that goes against what my customers want, but it's people want, but at the same time it's the way you grow, so there's this disconnect in what I need to do compared to what is best for everyone, and to be taken credibly and serious by the sports science community, which I'm trying to get some work from. COVID-19 completely changed the field, completely changed the game. It changed how content is being consumed, the amount of content being consumed. Over 66% of the world's population are now viewing online content, more online content, and YouTube's gone up by 79% in terms of it. But how much of those eyeballs on you? And it's forcing, and I feel like I'm being not necessarily forced, but I want to create more content for individuals. I've created 2 new YouTube channels in this time, SSA, which is who I work for, and we do home workouts for athletes, and also immersive health and fitness based upon the TikTok channel, but in much more longer content aimed in trying to get those younger guys, because where I'm struggling really is those teen kids, the Generation Zs. How do I get them engaged in my content? Because most of my content's 18 to 35 and above, and immersive sports science does that. That's why I'm able to swear on this channel. But yeah, this is what I need to do. They're more interested in fun, more interested in the silly stuff, and not necessarily in the serious side. But then again, was I like that when I was younger, posting on Bebo? Probably, yeah. So COVID-19 completely changed the field. I'm producing more content than I ever produced. I used to produce monthly, and that apparently doesn't trigger the algorithm. So you need to try weekly at best. A lot of people will struggle with that, and I know I would struggle with that. So I'm supplementing it with live streams with mixed results, really. I've got more time in my hands now, so I can focus it on the training, and I can focus it on YouTube itself. What do I need to improve upon? I'm willing to have more feedback possible. That would be brilliant. It's increasing exposure, and I'm hoping to get the results out. I'm going to get some analytical results out after the quarantines happen, so I can see what my content was like from January to, or maybe even the end of 2019, and then what it was during, before, and then back after again. It's completely changed the way people think, and it's 2 ways. It's either there were trends happening, and in my 2020 video, I tried to predict the future. I did not predict this pandemic. It's changing in 1 or 2 ways. It's either accelerating those trends, so things that probably would have come about in 2021, start about, are more likely going to go and happen this year and be accelerated beyond, become bigger. Those online training is becoming a big thing. Or we just go back to the way the world was before pandemic. Another thing happened was content that weren't performing is now performing, and I've moved away from that content. Should I go back to it because it's performing, but then I might get an alienated audience? So, for instance, one of my second most viewed video at the moment is what is sports science. Now, ironically, that was the worst performing video. The first one I posted was the worst performing video on my channel. Literally on my channel. No one watched it. And then December in 2019, the click-through rate improved, which then forced potentially the number of impressions to go up by 1.2%. It's now the second most watched video and probably will be my first watched video, but crap, production-wise crap. And I don't mean this lightly, but as people keep saying, they can't hear what I'm saying over the music. I can hear it fine, but I've got to bear in mind what's good for my ears may not be good for theirs. And I moved away from that type of content to more specific stuff, relevant trends, like talking about fat acceptance, things like that. And yet this one is popular, so should I go back to making these videos? I think I will. I think I will update it, go back to the what if scenarios, but judging from the biohacking one, it didn't do as well as expected. And I'm starting to see the differences in audiences as well from different online platforms. The biohacking post on Instagram, amazing! Totally fucking amazing. And one of the best viewed posts up till recently on Instagram, and yet one of it within the first month barely made 100 views. And I'm not trying to be critical. I thank you everyone who watched that video. But why the disconnect? Is it because people just like pretty pictures and don't bother reading the text? Possibly. A different type of audience. It may be my audience is difference between different platforms. And this is what I'm still trying to learn. I realise that I am no way near calling myself an expert in this. That's probably the reason why I'm going to cut some of the live streams actually. Because I need to feel confident that I'm able to advise people to the best of my ability. And I can't do that if the content isn't being taken incredibly or seriously enough to meet people's needs, wants and desires. It's supply and demand, and if I'm not giving them what they expect, they will show me the door. So what did I learn that was positive from this experience? It's completely changed the way I'm thinking right now. It's come a point now where I understand that you need money to survive, and therefore it's personally okay. It's not a dirty word, but it's helping me, protecting me, giving me that extra disposable income, and hopefully in the future that will help. I think I need to niche down further, double down on the content that is working. The quarantine will be over soon, but the effects to your YouTube channel might not. They might skyrocket as a result. I learned about myself a lot. I've learned that I'm skillful, resourceful, I'm intuitive, I can think outside the box. Cliche, I know, but it does give you skills that you never thought you had, because you're having to be everything in one. And it takes ages for me to make a video. I'm not the kind of guy who can just pump one out in a day. Some of these videos take 3-4 days, 3 to 4 hours a day in getting them done, and they're still, if they're not up to the standard, people don't want to watch them. And what is standard? Production quality over actual quality and values. They're completely different things. Like a production quality is like high production quality, lots of value towards the lighting, expensive lighting, that's what value means. But what is the value that gets to the person watching, the customer, the client, the individual, your fan watching? What value do they get in their production? You can have high production quality or value, but in real terms, video value and quality could be low compared to someone sitting here talking to a camera in their bedrooms and have a better quality value, but lower production quality and value. It's about getting what people want to see and learning from it. I've not been able to hit upon the stuff that has worked, and I'm trying to engage the customers on it. Like Evening with Eddie Hall was a big instant for me. But it's difficult to be able to get these people, talk to them, go to the talks, having to read the bottom line to make sure you're allowed to record and have interviews with them, because not everyone's willing to. So it's not a quick turnaround, and YouTube promotes quick turnaround. Their attention spans are shortened, and I find that my attention span has shortened as a result because of you being on YouTube and trying to consume as much content. And I need to consume more cleverly. That's what I figured out, more cleverly. Thinking about what I consume. Focusing on what I'm going to do now. I'm going to focus on getting these things right, rather than I was listening to X person, a lot from Sean Cannell, literally watching all his content and then not really put into practice not put it into practice that much, because it was just too much information. Now I've got this specific information, I can focus purely on getting those bits done, maybe for the first 6 months, then go back to consuming that content to figure out what to do next. And I hope I can help people with self-reflection. What I will say is thank you everyone who's subscribed, thank you everyone who's watched the last 100 videos, from me buggering it all up in the first ones with the lower quality video cameras and me not really knowing what to do, to now, and even now I could still improve. I'm not the best at everything, as you probably guessed from this, but thank you for everyone getting involved, subscribing, thank you for viewing the videos, and I hope that you can learn from my own experiences over nearly the last 2 years. Take your own impression from them and apply it to your own practice. And I wish you all the best day and a great video creating journey.